Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. Today we're talking the Citi secured Mastercard. The good, the bad, the ugly, and otherwise. So stay tuned right here on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. I'm Michael Holmes of Delta Credit Restoration, bringing you yet more information to help you in your credit restoration process. Today we're talking the Citi secured Mastercard. And we're going to go through all those pluses and minuses of that whole Citibank card. Is it worth getting? Hopefully you find the information helpful. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe and hit the bell so that every week as we come out with more stuff, you get it right out of the gate, right? So let's talk about this Citi secured Mastercard. There are certain characteristics of secured cards that we kind of weigh when we're doing our reviews. The first and most obvious one is going to be the interest rate. Although we're really not too concerned about the interest rate, because with any credit card, you really should only finance something on your credit card that you plan to keep for less than 30 days because the effective rate is typically zero, provided that the card has a grace period, which Citi secured Mastercard does. So if you pay off whatever you put on that card within that billing cycle, you don't pay interest. But if it goes beyond that, well, the margin that Citi is going to charge you is 19.24. Right now, prime is at 3.25, and as we have learned through our other videos at Delta Credit Restoration, that the way they calculate your interest rate is a prime plus the margin, and that's how they figure out how much they're going to charge you. So 19.24 plus prime is the interest rate, which is pretty typical with a credit card, right? The next characteristic that we look at beyond the grace period and the interest rate is the annual fee. Again, more fees that they're going to charge. And fortunately, for Citibank, again, no fees on this, annual fees at least, for this card, which is great because we don't like paying annual fees. So far, so good. I mean, the interest rate is kind of typical, but they do have the grace period and they do have the no annual fee. But let's look deeper into the card and what is the minimum down payment? Well, with Citi, the minimum down payment is $200, which is great. The maximum is $5,000. But what I don't like about the Citi card is that you can't add to that balance or add to that limit on the card. So with a lot of other credit cards, you can make your initial deposit and keep adding to it as time goes on, building your limit and thus increasing your score even more, right? That is not a feature of Citi. So if you're going to go with Citi, you got to come correct with the biggest deposit that you can because you're not going to be able to raise it later, okay? The next characteristic that we look for is that the card can convert. And some people call it graduating, right? So if they're going to take your deposit, eventually, if I've got good credit behavior, I want my money back, right? I don't want them just sitting on my money for the entire life of this credit card because I could have it indefinitely. Citi does have a conversion characteristic to the card, but it's 18 months long. That's an excessive amount of time. Most credit cards are 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. I've not seen an 18-month, and I find that a bit excessive. Also, lastly, with this card, there is an actual credit pull, which means there is the possibility of being declined despite the fact that they have your deposit, okay? Now, one thing I will bring up about this card is that we are not affiliated with this card whatsoever, all right? So what rating we give is because that's our opinion, not because we're getting paid for it. And really, this card, due to the fact that you can't increase the limit, due to the fact that there's an 18-month graduation period on this card, and it has a pretty exceptionally high interest rate, not too happy about this card. It does have a couple of the good qualities, but it's just barely above average for us. So we're putting them right there at a 6.5. Just not that impressed with it, and there's too many options out there to get a better quality card. and most people don't bank with Citi, so it's not like there's a continuing of a relationship there. So unfortunately, Citi doesn't quite cut the mustard for us, but if in a pinch, hey, at least there's no annual fee. All right, so hopefully this information helps. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Tune in every week as we give you more information, and hopefully this will help you make a choice, make a change. Delta.